Welcome to the Hunting Beast Report, a live video podcast with Dan Insole and host Jeremy Gillespie.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Stealth Outdoors. The off-season's a great time to rehab your gear, so head on over to Stealth Outdoors at www.stealthoutdoors.com to pick up some climbing stick wraps, cam buckle covers, platform cable wraps, or stealth strip rolls for all of your miscellaneous silencing needs. Today's show is also made possible by Hunting Beast Gear, innovators in mobile hunting gear and the designers of the Beast Sticks and Beast Stand. Check out the latest products at www.huntingbeastgear.com. And now, on to the podcast. All right, we're live. Today we're joined by special guests Josh Teulker and Ashley Covert. Josh, how you been?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. So Dan's not here, so you guys can use your imagination. I don't have any news to report, but maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. The world will never know. They like suspense, though. So, Josh, thanks for joining. Dan messaged me kind of short notice and said, hey, why don't you see if you can get Josh or Mario on? And we haven't talked to Josh in a while. So I said, well, let's give Josh a call and see what he's up to. So we're going to talk about the rut today because that's knocking on the door. I think it's already here for some people, or the late pre-rut. So, Josh, before we do that, though, before the echo, you're doing a pretty awesome giveaway. I've seen it on my own YouTube. Some people, I imagine, that listen to Dan have seen it as well. So give us an overview and a breakdown of the giveaway and how people could enter to win and what are the prizes.
Yeah. So I've always had this like fantasy, like I like giving things away on my channel. And I've always wanted to give like a complete package of everything a guy would need to go deer hunting, from, you know, a mobile setup, a bow. I don't know what I can't remember everything I got in there, but like a knife. I got a set of camo from Osseo, everything you would need, a couple other things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's going to be for 30,000 subscribers. So all you have to really do is be a subscriber, and I'll, once we hit that number, I'll give it away. So that's all you got to do is go over to Before the Echo and make sure you're subscribing to the channel. It's a slow process. Like it's going to be, I still have like 7,000 more subscribers from to 30,000. But once we hit that, it'll be a big giveaway.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of cool prizes and a lot of sponsors that I recognize. One of them, we haven't shouted out Stealth Outdoors in a one while, so let's do that. I know you work with Uncle Lou too.
Yeah,
greatest guy in the world.
Repping his hat tonight.
Yeah,
I just got off the phone with him this evening. He called me and was just catching up.
Yeah, I should give him a call. I haven't talked to him a little bit, but yeah, greatest guy in the world. And you know, he's a show sponsor, but I personally have been using Stealth Strips since 2014 when I found out about them and started clanking buckles off climbing sticks way back when. And I've been using them ever since. Great product, really good value. So if you guys are having problems with anything making noise on your setup, head on over to stealthoutdoors.com. And I mean, what's a greater story than supporting a small American business? There isn't one. So check it out. Ashley, before we get into the rut and what's going on with Josh, what's going on with you? I heard you made it out to hunt again.
Yeah, for the second time finally. I was sitting out for a little bit and there was a doe that came through, so I kind of got excited and I was waiting until dark, and apparently she was too, so harassed me because I watched her for like 45 minutes and I swear she knew I was there the whole time, but she just didn't do anything. She was like, I'm just gonna wait right until it gets good. And then she started throwing a temper tantrum. And she circled around me and came behind me and threw another temper tantrum, and then went down low and threw another temper tantrum and just kept circling me. And I was like, listen, ma'am, you have no fun. The next time I am in these woods, you're done. You're done. And I would have shot her, but she was straight head on with me. Like her head was down, and there's nothing, I mean, there's no successful shot I felt like I could take with her being in that position. Otherwise, I would have shot her. And it's early rifle season for doe here, and I was really kicking myself in the butt for taking my bow instead of a rifle at that point, because I was like, Miss Ma'am, you ruined my whole night. Like, we're not friends. But she's ruined it for Justin. She's ruined it for me twice, and I'm over her. So she's going down next time. We're not friends anymore.
The clock is ticking. So
Yeah, so I was hopeful she was going to bring something in, and then her little hissy fit didn't do me any good. So that's where I ended up.
I was out over the weekend. I walked about 15 miles over the course of 2 days. The mule deer numbers in Montana are way down. They were down last year, and they're even worse. I saw 7 does in 2 days and 15 miles. I didn't see a single buck. Elk numbers are pretty good. I did see 7 bull elk, so that was exciting. But
Did you guys have a EHD out there or something?
the 21 and 22, I guess, no, 20 and 21, really bad drought, super dry. And then the winter of 22, 23 was real bad, killed a lot of deer. And I think we have EHD and CWD bouts in there. And then this year we had a decent spring, but from July on, it was super hot and very dry. So we got a drought again. It's the driest I've ever seen it out here. And I've been here almost 6 years now. So deer numbers are down in the FWP, which is Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. That's Montana's game management agency. They won't cut the tags back. So obviously, a ton of Montana is funded by non-resident dollars, and so one of the hunting districts last year, Montana, is divided up into 7 main districts. One of them, 54% of the harvest was non-residents. So it's like,
Really?
yeah.
I'm pretty blessed living in Indiana because they seem to be okay with changing rules. Like they'll change prices of tags, they'll take out seasons. I mean, they're pretty adaptable to what's going on with the deer herd around here, which is good.
Yeah, they're not agile here. And one of the things that I think happens out here, this is just my opinion. I don't have any concrete evidence, but there's a couple organizations. One's Montana Outfitters and Guides Association. So that's all the large landowners that outfit and guide, and they're a very powerful political lobby. And then there's another organization called UPOM, United Property Owners of Montana, and both of those lobby heavily to not get the tags cut and not get around resident tags, because that's their bread and butter. That's where they make their money, and they're able, because all of their land is private land, they're able to manage the access. So their deer numbers are down. They just take a few less hunters. Whereas on the public, if deer numbers are down, you got the same or more hunters, because just like everywhere else, it's getting harder to get on private land. So,
yep.
See, in West Virginia is the opposite. They do absolutely nothing about anything. They're just like, yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
We'll just leave it.
They well, I mean, a while back, it's been a long time ago, but we went from a 2-buck state to a 1-buck state, and they'll add and take doe seasons away as needed too. Yeah, I mean, they don't do everything perfect, but
you guys have mandatory electronic reporting for your harvest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge deal. Michigan just went to that recently. I hunted in Ohio several years ago. I mean, 2015,
and
they have it.
They enforce it too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, from a management perspective, I know a lot of people don't like it because it's invasion of privacy, and they're worried they're GPSing where you're marking your deer from and stuff. But I feel like if you want proper and agile and localized herd management, electronic reporting is a great thing.
Yeah, no, we don't we don't have to drop a coordinate or anything where we shot it at, but we have to have the county we shot it in. But
right.
There's some states where you put in a coordinate. You pick a spot on the map where you shot the deer.
Yeah.
Or you're supposed to.
Yeah. Even county level, that's great, right? That's a lot smaller than a third of the state or the whole state or whatever. So gives the managers better insight into what's going on. But anyways, we got off on a tangent here. Josh, have you been out much lately? If so, what are you seeing? And what are your plans? Today's the 29th of October. So like I said, knocking on the door of the rut, getting into the rut. What's your, what's it look like going forward for you?
So this year I we have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I have been kind of over the last few years, coming to the conclusion that just hunting is not as a big a priority for me anymore. So I've been more trying to, because when I was younger, my key to success was just I would just go more than everybody else. I just would go a bunch. So this year I haven't been hunting as much. Just trying to over the last several years get some of those like historical spots for the rut. That I have a handful of spots picked out for the next week here in Indiana. That typically there's a buck in these spots in specific date ranges. And then also I've actually been like for example, this week it's been 80 here in Indiana, and I've got some cell cameras out, kind of keeping track of movement. Not necessarily like for specific deer, just be like, okay, deer been moving during daylight, deer haven't been moving during daylight, and just being more strategic with the days I go out and not go out, kind of thing. So this week's been just hanging out with the family. My son birthday's this week. My youngest son's was last week, so I've just been doing family stuff. But yeah, and I've also been just doing a lot of map studying for rut pinches in the hills here. Thermal hubs, areas that I think a lot of things are going to come together, and yeah, that's what I've been doing. And Friday is like Josh is hunting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we're going to go from, I don't know, whatever, 78 to 58 highs. Have a pretty large drop in temperature.
I was going to say, you guys should be getting a cold front. It seems like whatever weather we get, kind of 2 or 3 days later, the Midwest gets it. And I was looking at the forecast. I'm off Friday as well. So our highs are supposed to be low to mid 40s, and the lows in the morning are like 20. So, and we've had real warm weather. This opening weekend for deer hunting was terrible. I mean, it was great to be out, but it was 65, 70 degrees. So that might have had something to do with me not seeing a whole lot either. Yeah.
There's no question, like, you can kill deer today. Like, you could probably do it, but whenever you got other priorities, you probably, your time may be better spent with family or whatever else you got to do, So that's been, I leave for Iowa November 7th too. So that's been.
Oh, you got Iowa tag this year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's exciting. So without going into too specific, I don't need to know what unit you're in or anything, but what have you done to prepare for that? Because I wanted to talk to you about travel, and what would be your best tips for guys that maybe this is their first or second time traveling? What do you do to prepare? What are you going to do when you get there? And just, I guess, what are you looking forward to? I mean, Iowa, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, so 2 years ago, I went and scouted the zone I'm in, and did a lot of kind of investigation. I actually got on a couple pieces of private, which was kind of shocking to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I have those pieces and then a few other public pieces that I jumped around on. I didn't get it. I had intentions of going out there this year. It just didn't happen. Things kept coming up, and it's like a 11-hour drive for me. So it's not like something I can just go and do, in a day or anything. Yeah. So I think one is like, I wanted to, a younger me maybe would have been out there like early season and all that. And there's a good chance you may kill one early season, but I had Indiana tag. We opened the same day as Iowa, October 1st. So I didn't go out there early. And since I do have some of that private that I know I'm going to have to myself, essentially, like I don't have to worry about like that second week in November. Hopefully there's nobody running around on it. I don't know that for a fact, I guess, but there's less of a chance. So I don't have to worry about people jumping around during the week or during the weekends. So that's kind of my plan, is maybe hit some public out there during the week when there's less likely people be on the public. I avoided that first week in November. That's typically when people go out and, on their out of state hunt. Seems like the first week in November is real popular.
Sure.
And then, yeah, that's it. I didn't go out there this year and scout. I did go a couple years ago, and I got pins and whatnots from there.
So no cameras, no cell cams there or anything?
No.
Yeah.
No, I had intentions to going out there and doing that. And I don't know, you guys remember the whole Iowa debacle this year with cell cameras where they were illegal for like a month or two.
Yeah.
That's whenever I was going to go out there. And I actually had a week plan to go out there. And the farmer that owns the ground I'm on, he's not a hunter, and I don't think he understands hunting. But it happened to be, and I didn't realize this until like the day before I was going to go. I was looking because I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a turkey tag. It was in the springtime. And I looked, I'm like, oh yeah, opening day of turkey season is the day I'm going there. And I'm like, gosh, man, I hope I'm not messing someone up scouting turkey hunting. And I called the farmer, and he's like, yeah, my cousin's going to go turkey hunting out there, I think. And I'm like, he's like, just go ahead and go. It ain't no big deal. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not going to be out there tromping around while your cousin's trying to kill a turkey. It's not that important. So that's what happened. Why I didn't get out there, is that week was turkey season, and he had someone hunting there. And I kind of felt bad I didn't want to be, I couldn't get a tag because it's a draw tag for a turkey out there anyway.
Okay.
So I didn't want to, I just was like, that's a bad time to just go and walk around the woods without, not real not a good courtesy to the guys that are taking turkey hunting serious,
Yeah. And
But yeah, and it was also that time frame when the cameras were illegal supposedly, and yeah,
I think your situation's similar to what a lot of guys either don't have the time, the money, the vacation, whatever, to make a spring scouting trip or in advance to put cameras out or get boots on the ground. Sounds like you've got some boots on the ground, but when you get there, what's your plan? Are you going to do any in-season scouting? Are you going to go straight to those pre-scouted spots? What's that look like for you once you get there?
So I will definitely be sitting the first morning, right? And man, every time I've had success on an out-of-state hunt, I've got eyes on a deer before I kill that deer. Like almost, I can't think of any. Well, yeah, I can. I guess there's been a couple occasions whenever I shot one I didn't know was there or something. But like that'll be the big thing for me is like maybe sitting in an observation set the first time. It's going to be the rut out there. Maybe I'll see a buck chasing a doe somewhere, and then I can make a move for the evening. And I'll probably just bounce around like that with my visuals with my eyes. And then also like there's like something to be said too about just time in the stand. I mean, that time of year, if you can, especially in a place like Iowa or Kansas where there's more than one shooter on a property, you're gonna, if you're in a good spot that are like a good rut funnel, you're probably going to have some success if you can wait it out long enough. It's not something I'm good at. I'm trying to diversify a little bit. I'm not great at sitting all day. But it's a very effective way of getting a buck on the ground. Like for example, in Kansas last year, I was in a little pinch for the rut and didn't see anything from daylight until 11 o'clock. And my buddy that I was hunting with got down, went to the cabin. He's like, I'm going home. There's nothing moving. And I'm just like, I'm sitting all day. Like that was my thing that day. And between 11 and 12:30, I saw 6 bucks. So
yeah, I tell people that all the time, especially in Kansas, like the buck to doe ratio is so good. I mean, I don't know where you were at. I don't need to know, but where I normally hunt in Kansas, there's not a lot of deer, but the ratio is real good and the age structure is real good. And you do get a lot of midday movement. And, I guess I'll thank John Eberhart for that. I read his books a long time ago, and he talked about, some crazy percentage of his deer have been killed the first week in November.
Yeah. I have all his books too.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like it's like, in November, I think it's that 1 week in November, he's like 60% of his bucks have been killed between 11 and 1 or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really high
maybe even
percentage.
more. I can't remember, but yeah.
I don't know what your experience is like, but mine is, it's very boring, and it's like 8 times out of 10 you don't see anything. But when you do, it's a lot of times it's what you said. I was in Kansas 2 years ago, and it must have been, I didn't see a hot doe go through or something, but I hunted the spot a few times before, I hadn't seen anything, and I had 8 bucks go through within a half hour, like buck after buck after buck. It was crazy.
That's what this was. A buck and a doe came through together, and then like just every couple minutes there was another buck showing up.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And we don't get that in Indiana, so it was awesome to see. Like it's like, holy cow, this is what it's like out here.
Yeah, and that's not every time, but it can happen. And the other thing that surprised me, because obviously Kansas compared to Michigan or Indiana is much more open terrain in general. I mean, there's heavily wooded parts, but
yeah,
I was surprised how often I would see bucks in relatively open areas moving around midday, like down just a very thin fence line or across an open CRP field. You see their head in the rack in there. It's like, yeah, you don't see that stuff in Michigan or hardly ever.
No. And I think I'm going to focus a lot on like water sources while I'm there. From what I've heard from everybody out there, it's pretty dry. And luckily that's that piece of private I can hunt. There's a couple creeks that kind of make some funnels through the property. It's not like a gigantic property. I think it's like 80 acres, but that's big enough. I mean, that's a pretty good size for one person, and they have a couple other farms I can go on, but they're cattle pastures and stuff. And I'm not wooded cattle pastures, just a cattle pasture. So I don't know if those are even an option. I'm just going to have to see when I get out there if they have cattle on them, or who knows. It could be completely different from 2 years ago, but the crops should be the same. Is what's good. I guess the good thing about it should be the same crops as when I scouted it. In theory, if they're rotating, not all farmers rotate anymore, but yeah. But
I'd be
I'm
curious.
trying not to get myself ahead of Indiana the next week because I'm real excited about here too.
Yeah. How real quick before we talk about Indiana, I'd be curious to know, and imagine a lot of other people. What it look like getting permission on private in Iowa? How'd you go about that?
Well, I work in the ag industry. Like I've worked in the ag industry since I graduated college, and I used to have this job with a chicken farming company. And it sounds less cool than it is, I guess, but like it's the second largest chicken farmer in the world. But they had farms in Iowa, and I only worked for them for like 5 years. But I remembered I got along with everybody there and everything, and I was kind of working buddies with this guy that lived in Iowa. And I just called him. I kind of knew his family were like they farmed on the side kind of thing, but I wasn't sure. And I'm like, it's Iowa, more than likely it's leased or someone hunts it, you know. And I just got a hold of him on Facebook actually because I didn't have his number anymore, or maybe I emailed him. Maybe I got a hold of someone that used to like his work email. I remembered it or something because it's just it's always like the initial and the last name and then the company handle. And I think I emailed him. And yeah, he was like, yeah, man, come out and hunt. He's like, nobody really hunts it. My cousin's gun hunt it. That's what he told me. His cousin's gun hunt it. And yeah, that was all it was. Now I did get out there and I got that vibe, which I'm not going to say the guy's name or anything or exactly where he is, but like, he was like, you're a deer hunter, right? His dad is the owner of the land. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you need to kill him. He goes, I don't care how many you kill, just kill them. You can just leave them lay out there or anything, you know. I'm like, well, I got one tag, you know. Right. And when I scouted the ground, there was oddly a lot of deer just laying around dead. So I don't know how hard they are on the deer there, but it was crazy. Like the amount of rubs and stuff that were just on the property. I mean,
I was different. It's for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we're
going to find out.
Yeah. Ashley, you got any questions for Josh? I'll put you on the spot.
Are you saddle hunting in Iowa, or are you using tree stand?
I don't know. I have my beast stand all set up right now. I've been using my longbow, and I don't shoot very good out of the saddle with my longbow, so I've been using my beast stand. To be honest with you, with my compound, I don't really have. I like shooting. I like using the saddle because I like having all my crap right in front of me, right? I like my bow, like literally a foot from my face. I like all that stuff. It's really convenient. But I've thought about just bringing my stand with me to Iowa because of the all-day sit thing. Like it is more comfortable for me in a stand. And I'm kind of afraid. I sat all day a couple times in Kansas with a saddle, but I wasn't real excited about it about like 1 o'clock. I was pretty well like, gosh, man, I'm pretty uncomfortable, but I've also gotten better with it, but it's undecided yet. I'll probably bring both to be honest with you.
Yeah. Do you
if I have like a long walk or something real thick to get through, I'll probably bring the saddle set up because it's nice to have everything like in a backpack and a small profile,
Yeah.
But if I have an all day,
bring your compound
in that stand.
Are you going to bring your compound with you too, or just the longbow?
Probably the compound. I kind of feel shameful saying that because I was like, I kind of want to kill a big deer with my longbow, like a real big one, but I don't know. It's like I get so torn with the longbow because I really enjoy killing stuff with a longbow, but it takes me longer. And out of state hunt, I'm not gonna, I may only have one opportunity, and also like I do got a family at home to like. Yeah, if the deer's at 30 yards and I got to stay an extra 4 days because I didn't take that shot. It's like I could have had a compound with me, and I'd been home that right now. Right. It's good for me. Like I like to hunt, but when you got your 5-year-old, like, Dad, when you coming home? Or your wife, like, you're not sleeping good when you're gone, or whatever the case may be. So that's my dilemma with the longbow. One day I'll probably just hunt with a longbow whenever there's not as much going on in life, but that's where I'm at with it. Probably the compound to answer your question though.
That's fair.
Yeah. Real quick, we're going to do a giveaway today. We've been giving away the Lathrop & Sons non-typical insoles. Josh, I see you've been working with Lathrop and Sons too. Have you tried these out? And if so,
Yeah, dude, I did you see the video I put up about them things?
I've watched part of it, and I think you did boot on a cold day, right? One with the standard one. So yeah, for people that haven't seen that, walk us through that.
What I did was I took a pair of just rubber boots, just like cross rubber boots, and I left like one boot with the regular insole that comes in the boot in there, and then I put one of Stevens or Lathrop and Sons insoles in there, the ones Jeremy just showed you, and I just stuck meat thermometers down in there, like a digital meat thermometer that has 2 prongs, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it'd make it. Like, I'm like, well, this might work, but there was like a 7-degree difference. That boot that had the Lathrop and Sons insole in it was 7 degrees warmer than the regular insole. All other things being equal, other than left and right feet.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Air void's what keeps you warm, and you got a lot more air void there, just like a down sleeping bag or whatever. So I haven't tried them out yet. The real reason I haven't tried them out is because my rubber boots got swamped really, really bad, and they were like 4 years old. So I threw them away because I mostly wear Lathrop and Sons, like Western
hikers.
Boots. Yeah, I wear hikers because I hike a lot.
Or mountain boots, I guess, is what the hunting guys call them.
Yeah, exactly. So I haven't bought a new pair of rubber boots because I don't have any Midwest hunts this year. So it's going to be next year before I try them. So I wanted to get your opinion on that. But anyways, we're going to give those away. We got 263 people on the live right now. So pick a number 1 through 263. Only one guess. First one to get on the exact number, which I already sent to Ashley. Did you say you can't see that, or is that Josh that said you couldn't see it?
I can't see it. My phone's being weird. It's not letting me see it. I think it's when it's like up a little bit too high.
I'll send it to you on Facebook Messenger. So it'll be the first one to get it without going over. Let me message Ashley here real quick.
I make it difficult,
No, that's right. We like to keep it. We like to keep it low tech here too. Josh, I think you're more high tech. I like to keep it low tech.
I don't know. I'm over here with an iPhone and an iPad.
While we're waiting for that, let's get back to Indiana. So Josh, that's your home turf. We kind of talked about what you'd be doing in an area that you're not as familiar with. What about your home turf? You said maybe some areas that you've had history with in the past, and this comes up every year around the rut, but give me your personal experience with timing where specific deer come back to specific areas that, to the day or within a day or two. Have you experienced that? And what's your opinion on that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I have a specific spot that I've ran, just like I never put a cell camera in there. Just don't have service or didn't used to. I haven't tried in the past. Sorry about my dog barking, by the way. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but she's
just barely
on my dog by a door barking at something. But
yeah, that's good.
Like November 5th in this particular spot, I'm not kidding you. If you'd be sitting there November 5th, the last 3 or 4 years, you'd have killed a nice buck. And there's just something to that. Like there's that same place, same time. There's certain days that happens. It may not be the exact day, but it's going to could be within a couple of days. So I've been trying to like this, and this takes a long time to like build that type of that type of data. But I've gotten to where there's a handful of spots now where I have an idea of what's going on in a particular area for a particular spot where a buck's more likely going to be at. And then this year, like I did a better job the last couple of years of using camera data. Like I was really bad about having cameras out, not utilize them like I should, as far as my regular card cameras. And I just did a better job of collecting it, looking at dates, weather, all that, winds, and also just keeping track of bucks a little bit better. Just keeping track of like, okay, this 3-year-old that I had on camera last year or whatever, I think he's a 3-year-old. He's a really nice deer this year. It'd be cool to kill him. I got 3 or 4 deer this year that I've known about for a couple years now.
That's always exciting.
Yeah, and none of them are like booners or anything. They're all like just nice deer, but still, it's cool to have some history with deer and go after them. So yeah, there's like a handful of deer that I'm specifically trying to get on. And I have like my ranking of which ones I want to go after first, but I've also been trying to be more patient in Indiana. The last few years, just travel hunting has taken priority over Indiana, and it's kind of I don't, not the most ideal thing. I need to focus on Indiana a little bit and be more patient. And yeah, so
Now,
I have,
what about the types of areas? Are you hunting like only bedding areas? Are you hunting feeding areas in the evening or mornings? A combination of those. What's your favorite type of terrain to hunt during the rut?
yeah, so I'll be in the hills here in Indiana on public land for the most part during the rut. Not for any other reason, just this is where all my deer that are I don't have like a ton of private around here, and there's just not there's not much there this year for whatever reason. Just sometimes there's not many deer on it, or there's not any big bucks, and so yeah, I'll be mostly hill country, and mostly focusing on thermal hubs that where we have a lot of things coming together. Like for example, and I actually learned this from Andy May a while back, and he kind of hinted to me about spots, and I've kind of found it to be a really good tip for hill country. Is like if you got ridge systems that kind of run, they make like a U shape or something a lot of times, and then at the bottom there'll be points that come down, if you can imagine that a lot of times. Well, like a lot of times we'll say the east side will have like 4 or 5 points coming down into the bottom, but then the west side only has like 1 point coming down. And Andy was like, man, focus on that one side, because if the deer want to go from if there's a ridge system that has a whole bunch of points, like they could come down any finger they wanted to get into that system. But he's like, man, if you can find one that's a good system and it only has 1 point coming down it, to get up to this side of the ridge, they have to come down one of these points, which you may not be able to figure out which one it is, but they always have to go up or down this one. And so I've found a couple spots like that I think are going to be really good for rut, just where it kind of limits their options to, or funnels them, I guess is the deer hunting term, right?
Sure.
But that's something that I never heard anybody tell me before until Andy mentioned it to me. So that's I got one particular spot like that I've had some good bucks in. Yeah, and then just random like betting points and that have does in them. Something else I'm gonna focus on, I guess. So
yeah. Now, are those the bedding areas? Are those pre-scouted stuff you found on maps, or you've learned over time? I guess without giving too much about your spots away, your best bedding spots for rut, do they have anything in common, or terrain wise or topographically?
Well, in the hills, for the most part, they're like way back in, like the one I'm thinking of where I'm thinking about going, it's a 1.5 mile walk to get back there. So that, and just in general, that's a lot of times in hills that's the scenario you get yourself in, at least in public land in places like Indiana, Southern Ohio, where you can, the pieces of public are big enough to where you can have that scenario. Not all states are that way, right? But in Indiana, it's the case. Most of them are far from the road. They don't see a lot of people. And then, yeah, I think too, like the particular one I'm thinking of is a clear cut that doesn't really show up very well on the map for whatever reason. I don't know why it doesn't, if the map like on Onyx isn't updated or something in a long time in that particular area, but like you can't really see it on the map. So that helps. Too. Now I may look at it tomorrow and you may be able to see that map.
Right.
But,
let's hope not.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you found that boots on the ground scouting or in season scouting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean, to be honest with you, around here, I don't look at maps as much as I used to, just because there's not a lot of places around here that I haven't been to. But yeah, that's, you can definitely see those places on the map. But sometimes like here too, we have a lot of like horse trails and hiking trails. So you do have to go and look, because you never know how, you might be far away, but if it's on a trail the whole way back, it's not that big a deal for people to walk down there. And anymore, people go farther in and are more confident in coming in deeper.
Yeah, I agree. The mapping applications have definitely changed that over the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, the last 5 years specifically. And it's funny you say the walking deep, because I did not see a lot of deer opening weekend, but the deer I did see were all 3 miles plus from where I parked. And I walked a couple 7-8 mile loops, one Saturday, one Sunday. And both times I stopped because that's where I finally got into deer. So it's like, you got to get out there, and the areas that I'm hunting specifically are kind of like Badlands type, they're pretty hilly. So to get out a couple of miles, you're doing some work that a lot of people aren't willing to do.
Yeah. Or just like going, I mean, there's one particular spot I'm thinking of. It's not necessarily a long walk. It's just, if you can imagine a road that goes down, a gravel road that goes down this piece of public, and there's 3 parking spots. In the middle parking spot, you park on top of the ridge, and you can go out of the parking spot and literally walk down the ridge, the main ridge that goes through there. And everybody does that. That's where everybody parks because it's the easiest walk. But like, dude, those deer just sit on that ridge and just wait for people to come down that ridge, and they take off.
Yeah.
But if you go down to the last parking spot, it's a crapshoot to get into it, but you don't spook any deer, and it's steep, it's thick as all get out, and but you drop down into the ridge systems, and then you're on the backside of it, and the deer don't know you're there, and nobody seems to go down that way because it is a pain. Just things like that, I guess, is what I've found help a little bit. You got to inconvenience yourself a little bit to make yourself a little different than everybody else hunting public land.
No, I agree. Same thing. The spot that I was hunting, it was like you get out of a parking area, and then it's kind of gated, and it shoots you down a certain direction. And I imagine 90% of the people discontinue on that direction. And I mean, I know anybody that's hung around Dan, it's like, go the path less traveled, go straight left out of there, go straight right, go up the biggest hill there, do something different than what feels natural, because if it feels natural to you, it probably feels natural to everybody else too.
Yeah. And then the first parking lot there is it's like the old logging road. So it's that a lot of people go down through there too. So I tend to try to get in that third parking spot and go from there.
Guys, we're going to do some question and answer here in a minute. Ashley, it looks like we have some questions in the chat, but if you got anything specific for any of the 3 of us, drop those in the chat. And rut specific would be great if you got some of that. And let us know. I mean, it's getting to be that time. Josh, I imagine you got friends that are running cameras. My friends are Midwest are starting to say that things are really picking up the last 2-3 days. And it's still mostly been at night or in the morning because of the weather. But I imagine with that cold front moving in, that's going to change any day now.
Yeah, man, I can't wait till Friday. Mostly because I haven't really hunted much. I've only hunted once the last week, so I'm itching to get out there.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be able to see the chat or not? Because I can't.
No, probably
it's not a big deal. I'm just making sure I wasn't doing something wrong.
No. So you just
okay.
Yeah. There's a way to share it, but I don't know how. Like I said, I'm not very technically
It's no
advanced.
big deal.
Yeah. So Ashley's been a great help. She typically monitors the chat, and then she will administer the questions. So
yeah.
Well, I don't if you're ready over there, Ashley. If you got one, let's fire up some questions.
So Tony Thorson was wondering, Josh, have you tested Osseo gear in the rain yet? And don't have their packable rain? Do you have their packable rain gear? How good does the mid-weight hoodie and the Sherpa jacket do in the rain? Supposed to get an inch of rain tomorrow.
An inch of rain. That's a lot of rain. You definitely want to have a rain jacket if you're going to go hunting tomorrow, I would imagine. So the midweight hoodie is not waterproof, but that's just a hoodie. That's like, a fleece hoodie. The Sherpa lining is treated for to be water resistant, but the seams aren't sealed. So like an inch of rain, that's a lot. So you'll get wet in that. It's going to leak through the stitching on the jacket. It's not sealed. Whereas a raincoat will have some kind of a sealing on the stitching. So, but if you're like just in a drizzle or something, the Sherpa is going to be fine. It's going to keep you dry.
Yeah, big difference between DWR treated, which is durable, water repellent, or something like that, and
exactly.
full on waterproof.
Yeah, if it was like going to be just a 30% chance of rain, and you may get an eighth of an inch or something, you'd be fine. But an inch, that's our all day rain. So, or it can be, I guess.
Yeah, have you gotten a chance to test out the Osseo rain suit?
Yeah. Yep. It works. Yep. It's not breathable or anything or fancy. It's just a whitetail rain suit. I think they're coming out with a new one though this year, or well, not this year. This year's already over pretty much, but in the future, they're coming out with another one. So, yep.
I've been waiting on their women's line, which I know girls can fit in guys' clothes, but I'm picky. And I think he said 2025 maybe was the earliest expected for women's. So
Yeah.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for next year.
Yeah. You got to remember, it's a pretty new company, and they just came out with smalls. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, which Maddie is wearing a small, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
And
think
there's a bunch of girls that have been wearing smalls.
yeah. Yeah. She likes it a lot. I mean, she doesn't complain to me about it. So she does not like she uses it a bunch, but she used it turkey season.
She doesn't. Does she have issues with like, because guys have like a saggier crotch? Does she have issues with that? Because like moving your legs with the crotch sag is really hard.
She hasn't mentioned it to me.
Okay.
So that doesn't
I'm just
mean
curious.
it.
I don't.
Yeah. I don't know if she's on. Maybe she can comment. I don't know if she's on or not, but
Okay.
I can ask her for you.
That would be
I do
amazing.
know
I want to know all of her thoughts on it.
Yeah, she had a medium size on something, and she had me get her a small. So that's the only complaint I've heard from her is like maybe the hoodie she ended up, because whenever she tried it on, I think it was like right after she had haze. So she was post, that whatever you want to say, bigger than she usually is, and now she's a little bit big for her. But yeah, I'd bring her riding deck with you there, Tony.
All right. Riley is wondering how you tackle hunting thermal hubs. He's curious to hear your strategy.
Yeah. So, thermal hubs can mean a few things. A lot of guys like, I guess my definition would be, when I think of thermal hub, I'm thinking like of a bottom where a lot of points come down to a central location. And the biggest thing with that I have found is you got to really try to play the thermals. Like think more about the thermals than the wind, because the wind is going to do weird things in there. Like I can think of a certain thermal hub that it's constantly the opposite of what the wind down there is constantly the opposite of what it's supposed to be forecasted for. And it seems like to me in those thermal hubs, a lot of times the wind dies down faster and the thermals play a bigger role in where you're when you're setting up. So now don't get me wrong, it doesn't work all the time. Like it sucks hunting down there often. One thing that I found is like sometimes hunting lower is a little bit better than trying to get really high. Your thermals seem to follow whatever, usually a creek or something down there. It seems like if you can kind of one of those, that helps with your thermals pulling down through the creek. Just be real conscious of that. That's what I would suggest to you. And I guess if he's asking, I don't know, I went off on a wind tangent there because I think that's like the most important thing. But yeah, look for, not all thermal hubs are good. So you got to have something that the deer like about them, whether it be cover in them, whether it be, I don't know, if there's oaks or something down there. I don't know. There has to be something that they like. You can't just hop in any thermal hub and expect there to be deer down in there. But yeah, it has to be just, a few of those things come together, whether it be good bedding, good food, and it's not an easy place to get into. And then, yeah, try to really think about what those thermals are going to be doing down there. And if it's going to be bad, don't go in there because it's going to suck if it's going to be the wrong wind or the wrong time of the day.
Yeah. Jimbo Slice was wondering, what zone are you hunting in Iowa? If you're comfortable sharing that.
I'm in 4.
How many? Since you openly disclosed that, just curious, how many points did you have to draw, Josh?
I had 7.
Oh, wow.
I didn't put in last year because we had our boy on October 16th, so I didn't even put in. I just dropped. That's the only reason. I think you can draw it with 6 or 5 or 6, but I didn't put in.
So when you guys are complaining about point creep, direct your letters directly, address them to Josh Teulker.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I had 6 or 7 when I drew too, so I was over the limit also.
Yeah, I would have won it last year. I didn't because of the having a baby.
Life happens. That's why I didn't go with. As soon as I could have went with 5, and I think I went with 6 or 7 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Farrell is wondering. Oh, go ahead.
I was just BSing. Go ahead.
Okay. Farrell was wondering how many weeks before peak breeding date do y'all see an increase in the distance a buck moves?
Golly, Farrell, I don't know, man. I don't think about stuff like that. What about you, Jeremy? What do you think?
I think what I've read, because I'm a nerd, I've been labeled a nerd on here
Yeah.
now, Josh. So I like to read the GPS studies and know all the stuff like MSU Deer Lab and PSU Deer Lab put out. So peak breeding is like the center of the bell curve, and I can
Yeah.
specifically remember Pennsylvania. That was November 13, according to their biologist and their research there, and it seems like 2 weeks to 17 days. So that would put you back right around right now. And that's the last 2-3 days. Everybody I know in the Midwest are the cameras. You know, again, a lot of it's been at night, but they've really kicked up. So I think you got, to be safe, 14 days on each side of the peak conception and date in your area. And that moves a little bit as you get west. Like Kansas, that's probably a week later than Wisconsin. And Montana runs about a week later also.
I'm more of a man.
And at this point,
I can feel it in my plums kind of guy, you know.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I don't know if y'all pay attention to the like moon overhead and underfoot and stuff, but it rings pretty true right now too.
Yeah.
Like at least in West Virginia, it's been holding pretty true as far as movement goes, which is it's a neat thing to watch.
Oh yeah, my buddy, we call him Global, was here that week of the 16th, and that the one morning the moon was going to be overhead a little longer in the morning or whatever the case was, and they were talking like, man, we ought to stay in the stand a little longer today, and he ended up shooting a buck at like 9:30 in the middle of October. So
it seems like it seems like some good bucks went down around that time, and moon, and I think there was a little cold front that moved through then, and right around the time you're talking, I saw a lot of good bucks on social media that died those couple days.
Yep.
There's been a lot of nice ones go down recently too. It's just it's been, I don't know, I've been jealous. That's where we're gonna leave that one.
Now, if all you look at social media, it's like all you see is big bucks, so it's easy to think you're the only one not shooting one.
Yeah. Josh Traeger was wondering, did you remove the insole that comes with it or put it on top, talking about the Lathrop and Sons?
I removed it and just put the Lathrop and Sons one in.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked to Steven, and it's designed to be a swap out, not a layer. And they've got some I don't know, my camera, we've got the bit rate so low. We were talking to Josh about this offline, but it's got some support in the back and like a deeper heel cup than the regular insole. So it's designed to be standalone replacement for whatever your original boot insole is.
Yeah, and it's like 100 times better than your, man, those things that were in the lacrosse boots were like paper. Like you could fold them up and stuff. It was horrible. So
yeah,
that makes me so happy. I have some coming for my lacrosse boots because I was like, these are the most uncomfortable, god awful boots I've ever worn in my life.
Yeah, and those freaking boots are $240. It's like, golly, you think you can?
And they leak.
Oh, really? I haven't.
I have water treated those bad lads because I have leather ones. I have the Windrose. I have water treated those like with the spray and stuff, and those things leak more than a holy pair of rubber boots.
Yeah, it's hard to, even with the best waterproofing stuff, it's hard to get a leather boot that doesn't leak. And even the ones that don't leak out of the box, I can't remember who I was talking to, but a lot of them have like a Gore-Tex lining, and that stuff's great when you're not getting a lot of flex, back and forth, but it gets brittle over time, and your foot obviously is bending all the time, and those just don't last that long. It's like if you got leather boots that are waterproof after a season, they're starting to leak almost always.
Yeah, no, these are.
No, I got like
rubber boots, or they're not rubber; they're like croc material. They're real comfortable. But
they cook your feet in the summertime too.
Yeah, it's just whatever Steven told me to get these for cold weather, so that's what I got.
Yeah. Is it the synergies or the non-typicals?
Non-typical. That's the rubber boot replacement. Synergy. I got one of those here. And Josh, do you have any other mountain boots? But this is the Synergy insole. It's more gel. The other one's kind of more of a foam. And I've been putting a lot of miles on these these insoles this fall, elk hunting, and they're way more comfortable than the ones I had before.
Here, I've had these. I think they're the Synergy footbeds. I've had these for they are.
Yeah.
I've had these for think this will be my 5th season with these things. So
it's good to hear they're holding up well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That may be a lie. It may be 4th. I can't remember, but it's been a while. They're not new by any means. So, yep. You get what you pay for. They're good boots. They're expensive, but they're good.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask a question.
From what I've heard,
Brian Rayleigh says, Ashley, do you have a hunting channel?
I do. It is another Ashley Outdoors. I don't do a lot with my YouTube. Dan and Jeremy have yelled at me a lot for it, and well, not really yelled at me, but been like, "Hey,
I've encouraged.
You should do this."
Yeah.
Yes, encouraged. I say yell. They've encouraged. That's the actuality of it. And then my Instagram and my TikTok and everything else is just another Ashley Outdoors. So that's what it all is. Mostly Instagram and Facebook is what I have time for with my 6-year-old. So.
But you're gonna make a comeback on YouTube any day now.
Any day now. It's just I like to keep people on their toes. Really, that's what we're gonna call it. I had one and it scrolled away.
Josh, while we're talking about YouTube, I'd be interested in hearing your experience. Obviously, you've grown your channel a lot. A lot of people are, that are members here and viewers are also self-filming. What have you learned over the last couple of years that you think has helped your channel take off? What advice would you have for anybody that's trying to YouTube or self-film? What's worked? What hasn't?
I mean, you just got to be consistent. That's the biggest thing. Is like I put something on there almost every single day, whether it be just a simple, like Ashley, if I were you, I would just start doing like a vlog or something, just something real easy, like just 10-minute. If I think of a 10-minute topic and do a video about that, like, and YouTube is just weird. Like I took a course about it, last summer, I think it was, about just how YouTube works and stuff, and keep on, like, if your YouTube channel is about public land hunting, like just don't surprise your audience with other things, which I don't do a great job of that sometimes, but kind of the what you would call it, the riches are in the niches, and that's kind of true with YouTube. People come to you for a specific type of video, and man, they do, when I make something that's not really hunting related or something, it usually doesn't do great. Even though like a different genre may be a huge genre, like I don't know, whatever it may be, like my camping crap or something, so
seems
that's
like
the biggest thing. But you can't just put something once a month, like it doesn't, unless you're like Mr. Beast or something like that, and you're spending, you're making some extravagant video. But you just got to build like the relationships too. Like the people that watch me are so loyal to me, and they're like almost like family. And I think that's really important for growth and just consistent viewership. And I mean, that's how I feel with some of the guys. Like some of the guys I feel like I'm friends with that watch the show. So, and then they're like, when you build that kind of audience, they're more forgiving too. Like you don't have to worry about like, oh, this wasn't a perfect shot, or this audio is not great. Like once you build that up, that's pretty nice. Like I did a daily vlog for a while, and that was really good for the channel. Like, people got to know me. People look forward to it a little bit. It's not sustainable to do it every day, but I did the best I could with it. And now I just do a few a week, like just checking with people, and then we do our lives. And if something's interesting there, I clip it out. And Jeremy, you were doing that on your channel a little bit too.
Well,
some of those did really good,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I liked how you mixed it up with like hunting and family and just everyday life.
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat because they were shorts, but it was just kind of showing little tidbits of you in the way you wanted to show it and highlight it, I guess. I don't know. I just thought it was neat the way you did it.
Yeah, and that's not really like just that's what I got to work with. That's my life. So it's hard to manufacture something that's not that. So yeah, I need to get better at. To be honest with you, I haven't done many vlogs. It's been more just like tips and stuff recently, but it's because I haven't been hunting a lot this year. Like, and I haven't. I mean, I shot a little button buck, but other than that, I haven't really done much. But it's like starting Friday though. There's going to be a lot of hunting content on there, but I still try to do something consistently.
It's hard, and I'm very guilty of this not being consistent because when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I want to hunt more than I want to film. And I don't know about you, Josh or Ashley, but I feel like I'm always running late, like either from work or from doing something around the house. It's like, man, I got 10 minutes and I got to either get my stuff ready or I got to film. And it's like, oh, I'm getting my stuff ready because I'm going hunting. So, everybody's got excuses. And I think, Josh, that's one thing I really admire about you is the consistency, because you got to be dedicated. Anybody that's tried it and has tried to do it exactly what you said consistently, because I think the algorithm does reward consistency. It's work. It's real work. And it's a challenge to put it out and put out quality stuff regularly.
Yep. And if you can make it simple too, that's helps me a lot. Like I used to be real hung up on like, I got to have the best gear. I got to have awesome editing. And now I'm just like, this little Sony ZV-1 and like go, like just make something and get it on there and make something that people are going to watch too. Like, there's certain topics and stuff people like to tune in for and all that. But yeah. One thing that does not work though is like I've seen some people on YouTube. I think they make a big mistake where they're like, week 1, season 2. I could like I don't know. You gotta have find
dragging
something.
it all the way out.
Well, and just like people, nobody's gonna click on a video that's titled like deer season. I don't know, just something real. You got to have some kind of catchy title and some entertaining. So I try to find something interesting that happened in the video and make the video about that. But
yeah, it's funny because
it's kind of nerdy stuff too for YouTube. We may be getting too far in the weeds, but
yeah. Well, last thing we'll wrap up there, but you made a great point, because I've watched a lot of nothing paid, but a lot of YouTube videos about making better YouTube videos. And a lot of the big creators talk about they won't make a video unless they have a great title and thumbnail in mind, because you got to get people to click on it. And that's like the first part. So that's such a huge part of the equation.
I was talking to, you guys know who Clay Hayes is?
Oh yeah.
Anyways, he has like 500,000 subscribers now. And like, he used to just like make a video like we do, like make a video and like, well, I'll find a thumbnail kind of thing. And now it's like, he like collaborated with a guy that's really big on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like, that guy, that's all he thought about was like, let's find a good spot to take the thumbnail. Let's like, oh, this would be a good thumbnail. He was never thinking about the video really. It was all like, how am I going to present this to the audience? Because I guess like what you see on the thumbnail is what's going to suck you in.
Right.
And in theory, the video is going to be related to that thumbnail. Hopefully they stick around to watch it. But
yeah. Ashley, let's get back into rut stuff. We got any more questions in there?
Rut stuff. Yeah, I was looking at numbers. Yeah,
and we got 2 minutes. If we don't have the exact guess, which we don't to this point, as far as I know, Ashley, we'll announce the closest one on the hour. So 2 minutes from now. So if you haven't guessed,
I think it's still that same one.
I believe so also.
Grant Henderson said, hunting 3 days straight this weekend and have 4 large bucks confirmed on the property. Due to short on time, would you hunt all day and move accordingly through the day instead of trying to sit one spot?
Yeah, probably. Especially if you're in a spot where you can kind of observe something happening. But I don't know your property at all. And some of these questions are awful hard to answer accurately sometimes, but like if you have a spot on the property that is like a sure enough, like every deer is going to have to come through here sometime, then yeah, you may want to sit there all day. I don't know if Dan would tell you that or not, but that's probably what I would do. But if you like you'd be crazy to like, if you're sitting there and you see deer moving 100 yards down this way and there's a hot doe there and you see bucks there and they traveled right there and you've been watching them all morning, get down and freaking move. Like, there's no reason to not during the rut, in my opinion. If you're noticing something that's not working, then move. But again, I don't know, dude. I don't know the scenario really. It's other than it sounds like you're in a good scenario if you got 4 good bucks on your property.
Yeah, you had a lot of people there. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian said, Jeremy, do deer rut open terrain more than thick terrain?
I wonder if that's a Montana specific question. I'd say in the Midwest, I'd want to be around thick stuff for sure. I have seen in Kansas and in the Western states, South Dakota specifically, I can think of a couple deer where bucks, this is my opinion, they purposely push does into otherwise open areas like fence rows or against a pond. And the reason I think they do that is because they're trying to get that hot doe scent out of normal buck travel areas. So they will push them into weird, like isolated spots. And you see that in where there's big reservoirs and stuff. A buck will try to push a doe against a reservoir where I believe her scent's blowing over the reservoir, because it's that much harder than for a buck to get downwind, find that doe. And I mean, I know they can ground track them too. So that's obviously not foolproof, but I've seen it enough to think there's something to it. So in the way you usually find those deer is first thing in the morning or midday glassing, and that's an open terrain specific tactic. I think that can work. I mean, whitetail adrenaline popularized that. I'm not saying I came up with that, or I'm sure guys were doing it before them, but there does seem to be something to that, in my opinion. Josh, you have any Western experiences?
Not really. Nothing good, at least. I mean, I killed a decent deer in Nebraska, but it was on the eastern side of Nebraska. I've wounded a few elk.
Yeah.
nobody has any. I mean, that's not a whitetail thing.
Me too, unfortunately. Oh, and speaking of the pond thing in Iowa, you go into Iowa. I was there in 2021. I was driving into a town and I saw 3 bucks along a pond. Okay, in open, like it was like somebody's yard. To me, the first thing I thought is there's a hot doe there. So I purposely, it was private, but I stopped, pulled up my binoculars. Those 3 bucks spooked, and a giant and a doe took off right next to the pond. I mean, like a 160 giant buck. So again, I've seen it enough in person that I think there's something to that.
Did you go knock on the door of the place that was at?
No, I just said, "Oh my God, it's Iowa," and I laughed and cried and kept driving.
Listen, you got a 50-50 chance. 50% chance they say yes, 50% chance they say no.
I got like
if you don't ask, you have a 100%
chance.
chance.
Yeah, I am notoriously bad at getting property permission. I don't know if it's my ugly face or how I talk to people or what, but I do not have good luck. I have friends that like they can knock on a door and 9 times out of 10 they get on, but I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm too nervous. I just hunt public. It scares me. I don't want to talk to people. All right. So Steve is wondering, do you hunt thermal hubs in the morning or the afternoon?
Either one. I mean, I'll say this. I guess generally early season, it's mostly evening hunting. Just because in the hills, there's such big areas, and it's mostly a lot more vast than somewhere like a swamp or farmland. So it's really hard to beat them. Like it's harder to get it back to bed. It's hard to beat a deer back to bed in general, or a big mature buck. But they're in the rut. No, you can hunt them during the mornings. They'll a lot of times they'll be coming down in there in the mornings, just cruising to look for, does or scent does or any of that stuff. You got to remember they use those because of the wind advantage. So it's a perfect spot for a buck to cruise through because they can usually smell multiple areas.
Real quick, I got a follow-up question on that. But before we do that, I said I'd announce the winner on the hour, and I didn't do that. We're a little late. So NMI, which I believe would be Northern Michigan. Is that who we're tracking still, Ashley?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so.
Yep, I didn't see anyone closer. So NMI Swamp Donkeys, which is probably Northern Michigan Swamp Donkeys. You are the winner. So send us an email to the huntingbeastreport@gmail.com. We need your we need your name, your shipping address, your boot size, and your phone number. And while we're talking about Lathrop & Sons real quick, there is a link in the video description. Anyone that wants to be entered to win the grand prize, which is a boot giveaway, 2 sets of insoles, and maybe a gift card. Don't quote me on the gift card part. But the boot and the 2 insoles for sure, that's going to be at the end of December. You have to join the Lathrop & Sons mailing list. The link is in the video description. So do that. But you don't have to do anything to win this insoles today other than guess. So Northern Michigan Swamp Donkeys, again, you are the winner. Send us that information one last time to the Hunting Beast. Sorry, what did I say? The Beast Report? I don't remember. The Hunting Beast Report. Yeah, whatever. I'll put a link in the description. You'd think I'd know what I'm talking about by now, Josh. I don't.
I still don't either. I get crap wrong.
So anyways, name, shipping address, boot size, phone number, and I'll get that to Steven and he will get your insoles to you. So congratulations. My follow-up question was for thermal hubs. We talked about morning and evening. Do you change your access route morning and evening, or are you always coming in generally the same way?
I do a lot of times. I'm very conscious of my ground scent. Um, I think you need to be. So a lot of times in the mornings, if you're walking, they'll make some, and dude, deer don't follow rules like 80% of the time anyway. But like, if you're walking, if you come in from the bottom, a lot of times in the morning, sometimes the deer will be walking through the bottom in the morning, coming back to bed or something, So I seem to typically try to avoid that scenario, where I'm just very conscious of think about, well, where you think these deer are going to come from and try to avoid that. That's all you got to think about. Like, okay, are they coming from a crop field, walking up through a hub in the morning to go back up on a point up to bed? And just try to avoid where they're going to be walking in the morning. So that's your answer, is just like, do they do something different in the morning than they do in the evening? And if they, in the evening, if they're up top bedding on a point, like obviously you don't want to walk up there. So, yeah, I would definitely change it if the scenario was conducive to you getting busted by ground or bumping them off their bed or bumping them in the morning coming, in a crop field or something.
Yeah, and that's not always obvious the first time in a property if you haven't spring scouted or you haven't run cameras, and even then it's not always obvious. But those are the
No.
things that you should learn over time with the property and kind of adapt and adjust to your approach. Ashley, you got
Alrighty.
let's
how
do
much more time we got?
long as Josh is good, let's do one or two more and then we'll wrap up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
When is the time to enter the hub in the morning as the sun comes up and things are rising? GFY Racing was wondering.
So, yeah, your thermals are going to start to rise as the sun rises, right? Thermals follow the sun. When it's time to enter it, you want to get in there before the deer are in there. I like getting in places at gray light because I oftentimes don't have a specific tree to get up in. So I can be super quiet climbing and whatnot. So, I almost always get in gray light unless I have like a very, if I'm very comfortable or very confident in my, in my spot, or I've been in the tree before, or I know exactly where it's at. Then you can get in earlier, I guess. But in theory, those deer, first of all, if you get in there an hour early and those deer come through, 30 minutes before daylight, that doesn't really do you any good. Right. So, yeah, I'm probably not answering that question very, very well, but it's just, it all is based on your scenario. If you can get in there quietly without being detected and you're, far away from where they're at, it's all right to get in there at daylight. But if you need to get in there super early, if it's super noisy, like a lot of times in the hills, it's the leaf cover is really bad because there's all different ground, whatever, the ground's covered in leaves and it's crunchy because the wind's frosty, or the wind's died down at night, so it can be loud. So maybe then you can get in there a little early. I don't know. A lot of guys swear by getting into the stand, 2 hours before daylight, and I don't know. It's not me.
The other thing I'd add on to that is for guys that are newer to really paying attention to thermals, I always like to think about the slope, like sun exposure. So in the morning, the sun rises in the east, and that means you're going to get your eastern slopes will be shaded longer in the morning, and the longer they're shaded, the later the thermal is going to kick in, and always your north slope has a less thermal reactivity than your southern slope. Well, if you're on a southern slope, those thermals pick up real quick in the morning, and that's not always, at least for me, when I first started thinking about this stuff, wasn't always the first thing I thought about when I got into a new area, but it's something I always try to think about now. Like if you got a kind of a dicey situation as far as timing goes, and you got your choice of an east or a west slope in the morning, on the same trail, I'd be looking at picking that east slope.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Alrighty, so Last question, I guess, is Archers Anonymous. When the crops come off, would you walk the field edge of a big field or cut across for a more direct route?
I try to never walk field edges because that's where the deer walk. So anytime I can avoid field edges, I do. Like when the crop field's in, if a cornfield's in, I'll go a dozen rows in and walk down that instead of walking on the field edge. Yeah. And then I don't know, this isn't probably not good advice because I don't know how safe it is, but if you're on private, if you're on a crop field, you're probably on private. So I don't use a headlamp ever in the mornings if I can avoid it until I get to my spot. I don't like blaring a light through the middle of a crop field, but I don't like walking down the edges. That's just my opinion. And that comes from well, you guys know who Brad Herndon is? He wrote Mapping Trophy Whitetails.
Yeah.
He taught me that a long time ago. He's like, never walk the field edges. That's where the deer are going to walk. So
I'd agree with that. Can't argue with you there. I'd rather go across. And I mean, for me, I do one of two things. I go real early. So if I do spook something in the field, usually they just run off and got time to calm down. Or like Josh, go in at gray light where you can see the field's empty and burn across as quick as you can.
Yeah. I don't think, to be honest with you, I think those deer can, if they're in the field or if they're bedding on the edge of the field, I don't think walking on the edge or walking in the middle is going to make a difference. I think they're going to see you, regardless. So that'd be my opinion.
All right. Well, that'll probably, we'll wrap up the questions there today. But Josh, I want to thank you, especially for jumping on short notice. I saw a couple questions on there. If I've heard from Dan yet, I don't think I have anything from Dan. So we'll have to pick up with Dan next week. And Josh, before we jump off here, I imagine a ton of this audience is familiar, but for those that aren't, where can they find out more about you, your YouTube channel, social media, and what you got going on?
Yep. I'm just Before the Echo on YouTube. And then that's mainly where I'm at. And then Instagram is Before the Echo. And then Facebook, I have a Before the Echo Facebook page, but I'm horrible about keeping up on that. I just go on my personal page, just Josh Teulker on Facebook, but that's it. I'm on TikTok, but screw TikTok, man.
Amen. I refuse to do it. We'll get off on a tangent here, but
it takes me 10 years to make a video for that. Yeah. No.
People send me links to watch
make a video on that app.
I just delete them. I won't even watch them.
I post stuff on there, but I hate that place, man. It's hard to be a deer hunter and be on TikTok.
Yeah. And Andy Hodel in the chat. That's good. I don't know if we'll be on again before then. It's actually next Tuesday. So if you haven't voted and you can vote early, regardless of who you're voting for, it is an important duty. So get out there and vote. That would be great. And next Tuesday's election day. It's hard to believe that's here. I'll be glad. I don't know about you guys. I've been getting absolutely spammed with political stuff on my phone. So I'll be glad when that's over.
Yeah,
is it on the 5th or is it on the 6th?
It's on the 5th.
Yeah, it's always the 5th.
Oh, so everybody's going to be mad on my birthday because my birthday's the day after.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm really happy you do.
Half the country is going to be mad one way or the other.
They're going to be happy or mad, but either way, there's going to be mad people. I already know this. That's terrible. All right.
Yeah. And
thanks for preparing me.
Last thing we'll close with Grant Henderson said, thanks, Josh, Jeremy, and Rachel. So that's Josh. You missed it last week. Someone forgot Ashley's name and called her Rachel. So she's Rachel's.
I figured that would be Dan.
Yeah. yeah. Could be.
So that's yeah. Who was that? Did you say that was Jeffrey? Jeffrey commented that, right?
No, right. No, Grant, but you can call him Jeff, sure. So we've got a lot of
Jeffrey.
egos
All right.
here, but anyways, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If they didn't get it to me, NMI Swamp Donkeys, get me your information. We'll get your insoles. I want to tell everyone that's watching, good luck. It's getting to be the Super Bowl, for whitetail deer hunters. So everyone be safe out there. Make sure you're using your safety equipment, and we'll catch everybody next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.